Knees and toes.
The shoulders have to do with anything.
Because of what you did to my bold prediction. Yes, I'm taking this too far, but I don't care.
We're
going.
The noise is great for those who are audio only.
What's up, everyone, and welcome into a special edition of the Buffalo Sports Collective. Today, we welcome in co-host of the Loose Mesh podcast and contributor for Inside Lacrosse, Dawson Nielsen. Dawson, thanks for jumping on with us, and how's it going?
Hey, man, it's good. Do you know what? Actually, be on this side, I've always just listened audibly, and I've always wondered what's the intro with all the laughing. I was always just like, one day I got to figure out and I got to ask you guys. Now watching it, I was like, okay, now I can get it. Now I see what's going on.
Yeah, like 95% of the laughs you ever hear is just Phil. Like, I think it's just because of the stupid stuff that comes out of my mouth. It's too stupid not to laugh. But yeah, that's the way we got it. But round 2 of the NLL Playoffs are kicking off this coming weekend. In one word, though, how would you describe round 1 that we just saw last weekend?
Man, I don't want to use chaos because everyone's going to use chaos. But, like, how do you not describe it? Like, the number 1 seed, the number 2 seed, the number 3 seed, all gone in one weekend.
And
like,
the defending champions.
And the defending champions. Like, I'm not sure how often in sports, like, I don't think that has ever happened before. I mean, it's so hard to go back through history of sports. But, like, I don't recall it ever happening. And I've been a sports guy since I was born. Like, round 1 reminded everyone in the NLL is anything can happen. Records don't matter. What happened in the season don't matter. It's show up and play. And some teams, they showed up and play, and other teams pack your bags and go home.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why I love this one and done type of situation, just because I try to tell everyone, if you're going to get new fans in, that's the weekend to do it, because you're going to see insane lacrosse. Absolutely loved every single second of it. But I guess the question is, before we even dive into round 2, was there a moment from this season that in maybe 5-10 years down the road that's going to be the moment that you reflect back on when you think about this season, or has it not even happened yet?
It's such a tough question because, like, will we remember about the 7-1 blown lead from Vancouver? I don't think so. Will we remember perhaps the Buffalo getting knocked off and potentially being four-peat? I mean, as much as I would like a new champion, and I know how much you guys would like, Buffalo to be a four-peat, I also wanted Buffalo to be a four-peat. Like, I think there's only 5 teams in the world that's ever four-peated, and to NL to be one of those, I think that would have been cool. But, like, one takeaway, I don't know, man. Maybe, like, selfishly, probably the Colorado-San Diego goal situation. Not just the goal in itself, but the confusion afterwards, like the rule book, the announcement, the lack of clarity. That's the kind of things that people probably still bring up, like, oh, you remember this moment? Like, I'm being tagged in from people talking from NHL, what happened in 2006, for an example, in 2019. So maybe, controversy is always sometimes a good thing and sometimes a bad thing, but you never know.
I'm almost wondering, could it even be that picture from week 1 of Dobson in the penalty box? Like, I know we tweeted that out, like, last time these two teams faced, this is what we saw. But it's so, like, thinking back to all the way to November, it's hard when the season's still going on to try to pick one moment, because it could just be new champion for the first time in pre-COVID. So because even Colorado's banned too. But I guess my last one before diving into round 2, out of the 4 teams that have been bounced so far from round 1, who do you believe is going to have the most changes to their roster before the start of the new year? Vancouver, Colorado, Saskatchewan, or Buffalo?
See, I think in Saskatchewan, I think there's only a couple pieces that move. I know I'm fairly close with that team. I think there's only a few pieces. Colorado, man, it's tough to know because how much change they did have. I know that they probably want to bring back the same group and let the chemistry build, especially with Eli McLaughlin coming back next year. I think that's something that you got to unchange. But, I also get the sense of some guys in that locker room is maybe maybe Pat Coyle's speech is over and done with. And that's a conversation to be had, right? Like Pat Coyle, he's a guy like one of the most respected guys in the National Lacrosse League. Nothing against him. Loved the guy to death. Had some really good conversations throughout the summer of just being in the Minto and walking past him. The Man Cup this year, saw him, walked past him, had a conversation with him about just lacrosse. Straight up a good dude. But one thing in the Pat Coyle system is you better bring your everything or you're going to feel everything. And I just wonder how many times someone's going to want to go through that. Like, how many times is someone want to go through that animosity every single year? And that's one of the things I have a question with them. Vancouver, like, they have 21 contracts up this year. And, like, outside of, like, if we're going to talk playoff roster, it's a little bit different discussion. Playoff roster, I think you can't bring the same group back again. I think there has to be a couple changes. I think, like Adam Charlton-Beatties, does he go back out east? Everyone's been bringing that up, and it's a strong, good point. I think that they were kind of very lackadaisical of having similar type of people in the roster, not having, like, in Buffalo's sake, like a Scalen in their lineup, a guy that's going to be going in the mucky out. Like, I think I'll bring in a guy from Saskatchewan who hasn't been in and out of the lineup in Clark Walter. Does Clark Walter go to Vancouver? Vancouver-born guy, a guy that can, push people around, open up the inside for outside shooters if, like, Keegan Ball and Curtis Dixon come back. You have someone that can cause chaos in the inside, and I think Vancouver missed that because you saw in round one, like, yeah, okay, a lot of their sets are predetermined sets. This is what we're going to do. But then when it came down to tough, like, okay, now we understand what set they're going to bring and they're going to do this. I think that was one of the biggest adjustments that no one's really talking about, to be honest, from that series. So, like, I think it's Vancouver, man. Like, yeah, they did a lot of work this season, but I also think Malosky's going to really examine his roster and figure out what went wrong and what went right. Yeah, they're first place in NL, but was it the best season that, Malosky think that he had? I don't think so, especially being bounced in round one.
I'm glad he didn't take the cop out of Buffalo with all the number of guys that are going to be retiring. I'm glad he went with the other three teams and talk more about them.
Well, yeah, like we all
understand. Talk about them.
We all understand what's going on in Buffalo. Like, does Matt Vince come back? Like, does Dawson come back? Does a lot of the guys come back? Like, even Mitch Desnew, does he even come back? Right. And, like, there's a lot of pieces in Buffalo where, man, they better retain a lot because there's not a lot of stuff in the cupboards in Buffalo, unfortunately. Just with, going to 3 championships in a row, winning 3 championships in a row puts a lot of puts dry up your cupboards a lot. Like, there's a hockey team, which I hate hockey, and I'm probably not the only person to hate hockey, but Edmonton Oilers cupboards are bare dry, and I kind of see the same situation that's going in the Buffalo Bandits. And I think they did some work that needed to be done by bringing Joey Rez in, but Lucas Nielsen, that might be hurting you in like 2 years when he pops off. Look what he did when he got into Philly. Like, he popped off. Like, he popped off because he had a chance to compete. And yes, I do think he wasn't going to do it in Buffalo because of Dane Smith and Josh Byrne. But, at some point, something has to change there.
Yeah. I would think the biggest talking point is going to be what happens in net moving forward, because Shaganash, I believe, is the future, but is he the present as well? So we'll move into Halifax versus Georgia here to start. Georgia dominated Buffalo from start to finish, and Buffalo had no answer for Georgia's offense, and the defense just locked down all the stars. But if Georgia can score 11 to 12 goals the rest of the way, is there anybody that can even beat them, considering who's in net, the skill on the back end, and if their offense is getting going?
I wrote about this on Inside Lacrosse, so I'm glad that you bring it up. It's honestly like Georgia, we all said it. They have the talent, but they have no experience. And if you can get experience from one game, knocking off the 3-time Buffalo Bandits, tell me what other experience someone's bringing in. Like, that's a ton of experience that they just went through, especially with losing Michael Grace to a apparent ACL injury. If want to be like, I don't really like talking about injuries as much as people like to give me information about injuries, but like, yeah, it's a tough pill around that kind of thing. But if they can score 11 or 12, I believe so, man. Like the way that Brett Dobson's has been playing, how do you say no? Like it's always been, I talked to Georgia Swarm when they're in Edmonton this past year for the NLL box, and I said, hey, like, the defense has been unreal. Like, what is your guys' number? He goes, honestly, if we get to 11-10, we feel like we're winning every single game in the league.
Yeah, that's what I said on the preview. First one to 10 pretty much wins it, and I didn't know they would score 17. I don't think anybody did, but to move forward at the go ahead.
And that's only like, and the thing with Buffalo too is through 71 games since 1992 to 2026. This is crazy. I was like seeing how many times Buffalo's been scored 17 in the playoffs. Through 71 games, it's only happened this is the 8th time that it's happened. Like against Georgia, a team that we all had question marks with around the offense.
Everybody was talking about it, they only popped off versus Rochester, and I don't think anybody took that offense seriously because it was Rochester. Now they have to be taken seriously. But their opponent is Halifax, and I buried Halifax after their loss to Buffalo, and I think they lost the next week after San Diego as well. And they continued to make me look like an absolute fool, but they're not the first team, won't be the last. What changes have you seen in this team that explains the run that they're on to not just make the playoffs, win round one since the start of the season when they were 3-7?
Belief and roster construction. And so like the belief became a lot more apparent the last couple weeks of obviously winning helps the culture in the group.
Right.
But also the roster construction, and like nothing against Tyson Bell, one of the utmost respected guys in the league. Like you have him in your locker room, you love him. You play against him, you hate him. It's that type of relationship. But I think even go back before that, I think, a lot of Halifax fans, when they moved Dawson Theed away, don't get me wrong, I think Dawson Theed can bring you a lot of things. But I think Dawson Theed also brought a lot of sometimes negative energy, and energy that a lot of teams didn't really like. You saw it in the Oshawa game, and then you saw Glenn Clark have the speech afterwards. Hey, like, what are we doing? Like, we can't have this in the game. And then Oshawa kind of goes and does it the week 21 against Buffalo.
Yeah, against Buffalo.
I think that, like moving away from Dawson Theed, and because a lot of those guys in Halifax are very emotional. Like Mackie Jenner will talk about Halifax of being very emotional driven. I think removing a guy that's very emotional driven in Dawson Theed kind of helped this group out a ton.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I guess the next part of this is how much stock should we be putting into Georgia and likely not getting that second home game? And I know it's a hot button topic right now, but if it does go 3 games, and that's the funny part where we might not even have to worry about this, kind of like Halifax and Saskatchewan last year. But to me, it sucks for Georgia. But to talk about like the appearance of it, that's what I've been fighting is it's not just that Halifax, the number 8 seed, gets 2 home games possibly. It's the appearance that it is for the league. But how much stock should we even be putting in Georgia possibly playing 5-6 months to get that home game and not being able to get it?
So I texted a couple guys in Georgia because I would be pissed off if I was a player. Like we should be playing in front of our fans. There's 2 points to this. One, they say just win both games and who cares about, you don't got to worry about game 3. Take about Austin Shanks' interview from last playoff season where he says, I only packed 1 suit. We weren't playing game 3. I only packed 1 suit. So like have that mentality of going into game 1 and game 2, or you're only packing 1 suit. So perfect. Go win game 1, game 2. But to give you news on this aspect as well, I don't think anyone has tweeted about it and kind of made notice about it. But one of the things that I've heard through the Georgia leadership group was that game 3 hasn't been decided of where it's going to be played. But the only thing is like a little bit different with this is playoff series have to be done in 7 weeks. And the main concern is about that. It is in the CBA that the NLL playoffs has to be done in 7 weeks, even though that we, like, for example, next year, we could be moving away from these one and done series, and it might be 3 and 3 and 3. Or we can go 1, 3 and 5 and still have 9 games. We can have either or. It depends on how many games want to be scheduled and what is scheduled.
Right.
So I don't think we should be putting a lot of stock into it until it actually matters because, yes, is it a talking point? Yes, we should all having the discussion of why we're doing this. But I think at the same time is, it's not set in stone. I think whoever leaked out the graphic from the league itself kind of maybe hint got a pee-pee whack and isn't on the greatest terms right now.
Yeah, I know. I saw that on NLL. I'm like, did they screw this up? And then it was gone like hours later. I was like, oh, somebody might be in trouble here. But Halifax, Halifax to me should dominate that face-off dot. I mean, Jake Withers going against Georgia, and I think it's probably going to be Ben Trumbull. How important will it be getting those, nearly every single possession off the draw and taxing that defense on Georgia that will also be without Michael Grace? How important is it to get those extra possessions on offense to just wear down Georgia's defense?
I mean, we saw it, right? We saw it in the San Diego, Colorado game. Yeah. Possessions matter, right? Batiste got them possessions, and that's what allowed them to come back. Yeah, we can argue does face-offs matter to a point. Right. But yeah, it's important for Halifax because it's one of their main pieces. Like, you can't go anywhere around the league and tell me someone's better than Jake Withers as a complete package of playing defense, taking the face-offs, winning the ball, scoring in transition. You don't have a guy that can play those 5 roles, play on the PK. You don't have that guy across the league. It is important for them because that's one of their X factors of their team, to be quite frankly. But we saw it with Ben Trumbull, what he did against the milkman, Connor Farrell in Georgia this past weekend. If you can muck up the draw and try to make it into a 50-50 battle and get your wings to support, is it so important to have a good draw guy? Yes, it is. But the other thing is Georgia's been playing without a face-off guy all season long.
Yep.
And their wings are just as good, if not better, than anyone else.
So the last time these two teams faced off, Halifax had that massive comeback that, Georgia ended up winning, but that fourth quarter was absolutely insane. For Georgia to get the win, they need to blank. For Halifax to get the win, they need to blank. How do you fill in that gap for both those teams?
It's kind of both for the same, but a little bit different. For Georgia, I think you got to get rolling early and often and make Halifax chase and start getting them to feel the weather. We talked about Dawson Nielsen being moved off. It's a very emotional group. Use their emotions to haunt them. And especially when it starts coming into semifinals, make them start taking dumb penalties. Make them start taking choices that, they probably wouldn't do it in another case, but they're doing it now. I think whoever wins game 1 in this series is going to take the series. Whatever it is, that massive push behind especially if Georgia gets up, I really think Georgia could come back, but I also think that Halifax might dig himself a hole after going down 1. Just with their emotional battle. Halifax will need to, again, make it uncomfortable for Georgia, especially with all the rookies playing. But I think it's in a different way of making them uncomfortable. I think it's making them, try to get them to take the retaliation. Because, again, Halifax has been good at getting people to take the retaliation penalty, but they also been bad of causing the stir to start with. If they got to draw the line, if they can stay the line, Halifax is playing right in their game. Georgia's, we had Nolan Byrne on the Loose Mesh podcast, and I swear, man, we're trying to throw questions at him towards the end of the podcast of just trying to throw him off the game and trying to get like a hot message. Not a chance. The media training that they do in Georgia is on par with anyone else. If that's the case, the leadership is that much better.
Yeah, I love Nolan Byrne. For some reason, he gets under opponents' skins that everybody just wants to take off his head, but he's so freaking fun to watch in this.
Did you see the interview that he had?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where he goes,
So
it was their time, but now it's my time. This is a guy that's first year coming into the league. And if there's one thing that the NLL needs to get back to, is having personalities. Like, go and market.
Game one of the season where, what was it, Alex Simmons talking Jamie Dowick? I love it. You need more of that stuff in this league.
You need it. Like, as much as, I'm a Canadian, so I hate Matthew Tkachuk and I hate what they say because of whatever. Let's not talk about hockey because I hate hockey, but, but I do see the things that they bring into the NHL is creating pressure and creating emotional, and that's what the NLL needs to do is bring back more personalities. Like Steinhaus was a personality back in his day. As much as people don't remember he was, go look at the antics that he pulled. Like, you got to tell me he's not
celebration. Just his goal celebration alone.
That's right. Like, the NL needs to market around Nolan Byrne, especially if this is the way that he's going to be. Like, these are not one-offs anymore. This guy's been doing it 3, 4, 5 times in a row.
So, I don't mean this to come off as an insult, but last year you kind of came out of nowhere. Like, all that CBA reporting, and then you just took the league by storm. So, to me, I guess this question is, how hard has it been to actually break into the NLL and the lacrosse industry? And have you found anything that's just, the hardest part about it?
I don't think I've found something hard because of the connections that I've had. It's more of just, I don't want to say abusing the connections, but really it's kind of like I want something that they know to give to me to put it out there, right? So yes, it's abusing the relationship that I've had, but it's also kind of building that trust over the years that I've had with some of these guys. Like the CBA was a wild time, man. It was a wild time. And, one of the things is I don't think I've ever told the backstory of like how this all came apart. There's one weekend, I think it was right before the Man Cup. And honestly, bless the Man Cup for where I'm at today with just covering the league because I don't think it would ever happen. I was just sitting in there. I was like, hey, I really want to do something with lacrosse. And some odd reason, I thought I should fly to Vancouver and I should go meet Adam Levy and talk to him about how to like get into covering the league. And eventually I said, okay, booked the flight, went off to the flight, talked to Adam Levy for a bit. And then I was like, hey, now I got to prove to him I actually know my stuff. So then I started, okay, I'm going to go talk to like guys who on the Salmon Bellies, guys that are on the Chiefs that I know for a bit, and guys that, like I've had a conversation with them through the DMs just asking about why did you do this in this situation or something along the lines just to get better at coaching because at the end of the day, that's all I do now is just coach, cover the league, and work. My wife probably doesn't like it, but that's my life right now, and I love it, and I love it. But like it was kind of just to that point where of, I took the step and wanted to go and do it, and it's been kind of an easy process. Yeah, there has been their hard times where some people I had to push to give information, of course, but there's other times where it's easy because people trust when you build a relationship with someone. It's like the same thing with if you go and date a girl, you got to build that relationship. It's not like, hey, like, give me all your dirty little secrets. And then next week you break up like high school couple and then you're telling all of her dirty little secrets. It's the same thing. It's a relationship base that I think some people can toe the line of and others do well. And I think I do well at it.
Yeah, I can attest following you all last summer and now through this entire league. Like, the league is lucky to have you. So if you don't hear that
I
enough, you're
appreciate
hearing it
that.
from me. The
I
league
appreciate
is lucky to have you.
and like honestly, man, it's like I'm sick of the thing of grow the game. Like I'm just sick of it. Like people talk about grow the game, grow the game, grow the game, but what is growing the game? Like explain to me how we're growing the game. Okay, the NL Unbox Initiative. I think it's a good idea. Can it be better? 110%. Is there other things that we're doing well that we weren't doing well back in, let's say, 2015, 2017? 110%. I think the social media has been like 10 times, 100 times better than what it is, just with putting highlights and interviews. And, like, do you remember back in 2019, 2018, 2017? Do you ever remember seeing a Nolan Byrne interview, for an example,
Right.
ever? I
Yeah,
don't think
yeah.
I've ever seen that. It's kind of like newish. And I think the league has finally seen that, independent media is best for the game and stop having articles written by league executives, league employees that won't say something that someone shouldn't say or someone should say.
Yeah, that's what I always say is the more independent media that's outside of, regardless what sport it is, it's good for the sport and the league should embrace it. And I'll give Brett Crew credit. He went on record and said, I love independent journalists because of that reason. So I'll give him full credit on that one. But we'll move on. San Diego versus Toronto. Between Patrick Merrill and Matt Sawyer, who I've blasted on the show multiple times, who to you has more to prove as, both of them have been in their roles for a long time now, but neither have really gotten that team across the line. Who to you has more to prove in this matchup?
This is an interesting and a good question at the same time. Patrick Merrill, like, let's go back. Patrick Merrill has had rosters where, hey, like, they should win a cup.
Right.
Sawyer, in the same way that he's had rosters where they should be way better than that they were before, and now he's 6-7 in the playoffs with beating Sask. Like, honestly, I think it's still Sawyer, and the reason that I kind of say this is because I don't think Toronto's in where they're at without the help of Dan Dawson and Andrew and Cod. I don't think they're in the same Bruce Cod, in the same kind of area where they are right now without those two. I think them bringing in those two guys helped Sawyer kind of calm down and take less of a role. And I think he's better of in-game management than some people give him credit for. But I don't think like I don't think Sawyer can be the guy who's like just himself. And nothing against the other guys that were there before, but look at the work that Bruce Cott has done with this group. Look at the work that Dan Dawson has done with this group. In San Diego, Patrick Merrill's, I don't want to say the guy, but he's kind of taken a lot on to make that team successful. So who has more to prove? I think it's going to be Sawyer, but I don't think he's going to have the chance to prove just with his two assistants being the guys that they are.
Yeah, I love that point. I don't think Dan Dawson's getting enough attention or credit for what he's done, especially with the rookies out there. No. But if you were to write a headline, because you're a writer for Inside Lacrosse and I love reading the articles, what would the headline be and why for this matchup?
It pops to my head, but some reason, man, I keep going back to, can the rookies survive with the playoff superstars in Zach Currier and Westberg? Like, I'm going to go back into Buffalo. Buffalo, Nick Weiss to regular season Nick Weiss to regular playoff Nick Weiss is usually two different things. Unfortunately, you kind of didn't see that this weekend. But playoff Westberg and playoff Zach Currier, give me a better duo. And I don't I just don't know if I keep saying the rookies, like prove me, and they've kind of shut me up week after week. So it's getting old, but man, those two are hard to go against, and I think if Toronto can match the intensity of those two, I think they win. But if not, I think they fall just like how Colorado did.
So for San Diego, I think this might be a crazy question, but hopefully you see how I'm framing it. Zach Currier should be in contention for MVP votes, and thank God, because the voters got gypped last year for him not even be nominated. However, is he the most important player for the Seals in this series?
If Zach Currier is on any team, he's the most important player on any given day. This guy, like, is he an offensive guy? Yes, he plays offense. Is he a transition guy? Yeah, he can do that. Is he a defensive guy? Yeah, he can do that. I would like to bring in a new award. I think a new award, because the guys that we have seen of the two-way guys of who can play offense, defense, last minute power, last minute 6-on-5, last minute defense trying to stop the ball in the second half of the game, or in the first half of the end of the second quarter. Like, he's all over the place. He's the most important. He impacts every single part of the game, loose balls, transition, everything. In a playoff series, man, you've seen the possessions in the overtime against Colorado. He is the most important guy for this team. If the Seals are not making the playoffs if it wasn't without Zach Currier.
Yeah, 100%. I'm just
and
happy
honestly,
that
this might be like a hot take, but we can give all the credit due in the world to the 2019 Calgary Roughnecks. But guess who was on that roster?
Yeah.
Zach Currier. Guess who wasn't in Vancouver? Did Vancouver really have a Zach Currier type? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yes, like Owen Grant and Reed Bowen can be those guys, but that they're not Zach Currier types.
Yeah, there's only one Zach Currier. So for the Rock, they rebuilt this team in one offseason, and I expected them to make the playoffs. I had them as my 8th seed. I did not see them having the season that they did. They defied my expectations for them. But they don't even have the big bad bandits in their way anymore that have been their kryptonite in the playoffs. What do you think is more important for this team, though? Is it the defense being able to keep San Diego to under 10, or do you think it's the offense being able to beat Oreg and get to 10?
Another good question, man. Holy. I should get you to write all the questions for the Loose Mesh Pod.
You're like my second to last interview. I'm closed for the rest of the year.
I think the most important is to get to 10. To get to 10, I think you got to get at least. There's two things that you got to win in a game. One, I hate using the save percentage, but if your goalie has an 80% save percentage or above, you're usually winning that game, unless you're Christian Del Bianco, or
making 61 saves, yeah,
or Dylan Ward. You know what I mean? But I think it's a little bit of both. But I think they have to get to 10. There's been some times in this year that it's been hard for them to get to 10, and like. Cat's not out of the bag. Mark Matthews is still not 100%.
Yeah.
And like in a 3-game series, the San Diego start tacking Mark Matthews. Like, I don't think Saskatchewan Rush would have, because the relationships that they had. But the San Diego put that to the side and say, hey, we've been in a grind all season long, and everyone's kind of told them that everyone's kind of said San Diego sucks. But do they just go after Mark Matthews and eliminate the guy that's, run and dictates that whole entire offense? I think that has a fold into it as well. I think it's get to 10. Get to 10. I think Rosie will be Rosie and the defense will be defense with Brad Cree, but I think the offense has to get to 10. I'm still not reluctant on that right side of the offense. I think the left side of the offense dictates way too much. And like, if you shut down the left side of the offense, It's the same thing in Buffalo this year. You shut down the right side of the offense in Buffalo.
Right.
You had a pretty good chance of winning. I think it's the same conversation you could have with Toronto.
Yeah, you saw in the first half versus Georgia, 0 points across the 4 guys on the right-hand side. It was not a fun watch. Last question for the 2 series here, and it's similar to the first one. For San Diego to get the win, this needs to happen, fill in the blank, and then Toronto, same question.
San Diego needs to dictate the pace, and hopefully they get a guy back in named Danny Logan from injury. I'm hearing that he will be back. Let's see how healthy he is. But push the pace, win the middle of the floor where Toronto really likes to dictate the game, and secondary scoring. It's been the verdict of themselves. The lefties, they've gone quiet. Like, if you go back and watch that overtime, there's 3 guys that win the overtime for them. Zach Keir, Westberg, and the guy that put the ball in the net. The other 2 lefties, the other, 2 guys, where were you? Where were you on the floor? Like I said it to someone today, honestly, I think San Diego could have went 3-on-5 in that overtime and still beat Colorado.
Very fair. Very fair. We'll move on to the rest of the playoffs, off season, and the awards. But when it comes to the playoffs, and this has also been kind of discussed, do you like what we've seen the last 3 years, where it's the 3 games in 2 weeks, or did you actually prefer the 1 game each weekend throughout? And I completely understand the reason they did that, to move the season up, to get done by June so it doesn't affect summer ball in PLL or, the MSL and WLA. Did you prefer the 1, or did you prefer, the more condensed version?
More condensed. We're athletes. If we're trying to figure out who's the best team, it's the athletes that recover off the floor. It's not the athletes who need a week and a bit to figure out, am I going to be ready to go? No, it's the athletes right after, like you see it in Buffalo, and I'll give them credit all the time. Why did Buffalo win championships? Because they go to the Buffalo Cryo every single day of the week and get ice training, get everything that they need to get done in order to be ready to go. And I think that some guys in the league don't really take care of their bodies as good as they should. And if we want to see who the best team in the league is in any given year, have more condensed schedules.
I have not heard that argument, and I absolutely love it. So I'm jumping over to your side now. I love it. It hurts for the scheduling aspect of it.
100%.
But when you put it in terms of the actual play on the field and the best of the best, you got to treat your body like what you need to treat it like. I absolutely love that reasoning. Spot on. Perfect. Love it. That's why I got you on interviewing you and nobody's interviewing me. Which award race do you feel will be the most controversial when the finalists are announced? And when I mean controversial, I kind of mean like the most people will be upset because so-and-so is not in the top 3. And I know it's tough because there's some stinking good races for these awards this year.
Oh, man. I think the 2 biggest ones is, and I don't even think it's the MVP anymore, just the way what Brett Dobson did this past weekend. I think it's the Rookie of the Year. And this is my argument with the Rookie of the Year. This might be hot, but CJ Kurz with Mark Matthews, with Owen Hiltz, with Challen Rogers, with Chris Boucher, with Josh Dowick. Okay, take those guys. Now go look in Georgia on who Nolan Byrne has working with him. Is it equal? I would say no. Yeah, he has Lyle Thompson, but Lyle hasn't been Lyle all season long. Lyle finally was Lyle this past weekend. Jordan McIntosh has been playing up and down the floor, and he's 34 years old. Like, he's a lot of their guys are tooth and the nail and getting older. Caleb Bett, you got a list of names off that are going. I think the Rookie of the Year has more weight, needs to have more weight this year, especially with knowing who's playing with who. I think you have to have a little bit of a calling into that. And that's why I'm kind of pulling for Nolan Byrne lately. It's one, he led the lead and led all rookies in scoring. Look the past weekend in Georgia that they had. He dictated the offense, was the guy that ran all the 5-on-5 sets. He's the guy that ran the power play. He's their go-to guy, honestly, in the last couple weeks. It's if Nolan Burns not hot, Georgia's usually falling. If Nolan Burns hot, Georgia's usually winning. And I think, we have to have the discussion. Yeah, it's great what CJ Kurse can do in the 40-foot game, but look at the guys around him also helping him out. It's also Challen Rogers in that 40-foot game. It's also other guys getting into the mix and the guys that he has playing with. And, Gash and English always stepping up higher because they're athletically driven, that they can give up the space from their net, forcing up high to cause a turnover, which helps CJ Kurse as well because he can jump in the fold because he knows he has some athletic guys coming out the back end. So, yeah, those numbers, I think, man, it's rookie of the year. Just with those arguments. It's any given year, I think it's Nolan Burns' year, but this year it's so hard just with who's in it in the running for rookie of the year. And we haven't even talked about Michael Grace yet.
Yeah, Michael Grace, Hugh Kelleher, Owen Hiltz. You can even talk about, I know he's not going to be up for Rookie of the Year, but what Saris was doing in Colorado, stepping up after Ryan Lee went down too. This rookie class, and I know the next two are supposed to be even more phenomenal, but the rookies this season were just sick. This is the best rookie group that I've seen in quite a while, especially after, even Dyson and Brendan O'Neill had good years last year, but, compared to what we saw this year, they're blowing them out of the water. This offseason, though, the league has one major hurdle at the moment that they need to overcome, and that's Philly. And, we went through the whole situation of last year where it was Rochester and then it was the CBA. How delayed do you think free agency might be this year? Or do you think because the league has kind of known Philly has been in the situation they've been in for the last 2 years, do you think this is something that could be done a little bit quicker and we can finally, for the first time in a while, have a normal offseason?
I can't say normal because of the movement of Philly, but I think that free agency and the draft and all that, it's not going to be pushed back. I've had conversations with a couple of guys who are in the draft this year, and I'm not going to say where they're calling from, but there's a particular city that has made some phone calls towards these guys and saying, hey, would you come play here if we draft you? So, when I heard that, I was like, holy smokes, the NLL is actually getting ahead of the game instead of waiting last minute. And, yeah, I don't think we're going to wait last minute. I don't think Brett Fruit wants to wait last minute. I think that was a tough hurdle, what we went through this past year. I think all the teams don't want that to happen again. Honestly, I think Philly either moves locally or they move out to Laval or Edmonton.
I love that answer because last year, trying to come up with topics when free agency kept getting pushed back and no idea what the CBA, I was banging my head against the wall. So as a content creator, I love that answer. We couldn't leave without asking your thoughts on Colorado San Diego and the controversy and the overtime winner that wasn't. And I know, and I've seen your tweets and I see your side. I know Colorado had plenty of chances to win it in overtime and not putting themselves in the position. But I guess my question is more geared towards the whole situation and how it played out, from the announcement from the commissioner to how unclear the rules are that people were interpreting it both ways and it made sense, to seemingly nobody, including Colorado, even talking about this until multiple people were bringing it up on social media. It felt weird that even in the moment, Colorado kind of just accepted what was being discussed. I guess, what are your whole opinions on the whole situation that played out in 24 hours?
I have mixed emotions, man, about it. One, do I like a guy who's assistant general manager and a defensive coach going on Twitter and crying about something? No, grow up. One, there's a backstory between of him and I'll tell you off air if you want to know. Sorry about that. But there's a backstory between him and I will tell you off air. I don't really feel comfortable with telling you on air, but there's some history between him and I just like, man, why are you crying on the internet about it? Like, just go and watch the tape and figure out, if we're looking at pixels and fractions to determine a game, did you win the game or did you not win the game? Yeah, it was a bad look because everyone came out with it not really real clarity. Like, have we came out with the clarity? I still want to know what's rule 67.2 and 67.3 needs a clearer language. But again, the English language isn't perfect, and we got to try to understand the rule on how we interpret the rule. So, but man, in the playoffs, it just can't feel like it's the story, but it is the story. And unfortunately, sometimes when you have a chaos playoff weekend, there's always some news story that comes out the day after that shuts everything down and puts a black burden. And that's the one thing that I've kind of wished that I like the transparency, but I also think that it kind of put a burden on the weekend that we had. Like, I wish that we could have, had internal conversations. Like, I don't think the NL really should have called out the referees in that situation. I think that should have been an internal conversation. I think, like, explaining actually, like, I think it takes 2 minutes for you to go on the social media and figure out, okay, they're arguing about 67.2 and 67.3. Maybe have the head referee of the NLL explain what's the difference and which one should be used at a certain given time. Because, like, I've asked a round of NLL officials, and one official says DOS is Exhibit A, and it's also Exhibit A. So, like, this is another official didn't ref this game that's thinking the same thing too. And yeah, it's going to be a major topic of when they're in a regroup this week and talk about what calls that went missed, because they do that on a weekly basis. But, I just don't like the black burden that it put on.
Yeah, I think it shines a light on, I think the rule book kind of needs to get combed through and either reword things or better explain how things are supposed to be called. Like you said, it especially like you just see the example in week 1 where Brett Dobson has to serve the penalty and nobody questions it. I think it just needs to be better worded and better explained to the referees that are making those calls. But final question.
It's three.
Yep,
it's 3 rules now, man, right? It's 3 rules this year. 1, the Brett Dobson. 2, the Buffalo Bandit rule, which
right, yep.
Yeah, like that rule in my opinion needs to get thrown out of the rule book ASAP. Like, it's like, I get it, you don't want to have someone standing in the crease next to a goalie and having no shot to block. No shot. But make that the rule. Not someone standing, a fraction or a pixel inside the crease and we're going to call that, because at the same time, man, it's also a defensive play. And, like, I had a conversation with someone in the NLPA and I said, how about you send that to the competition committee and see what they think about that? And they just like, DOS, I'm not going there. And I just said, okay, no worries.
Love it. Final question before we get you out of here, and it's how I do every interview. You have been given 24 hours and anything else you might need. So pilot, anything. And you need to get the job done. After those 24 hours, though, every single person in the world is looking for you. If you're able to evade them for 72 hours, you win. Now, I'm not going to tell anybody, and nobody's going to listen to this part. Where are you going and why?
Somewhere boring, man. I think boring, very boring. Not in the mountains.
Montana somewhere?
I don't find Montana boring, though. Like, I love that place. That place is awesome. I think a lot of people should go visit there.
Idaho? Maybe Idaho? Nebraska?
Man. I don't know. Somewhere in the desert where all you see is, like, what are those balls called that runs across the road all the time? Movies?
I can't think off the top of my head. But yeah, I know what you're talking about, though.
Yeah,
Everybody's
like,
screaming exactly what they know about there, though.
Yeah. Probably somewhere around there, like, just blend in, feel like I'm the road runner for a little bit and enjoy my time. I don't know. I think that's where I think that's where it'd be. Just try to be invisible, I guess.
I'm thinking maybe just like get a nice little raft, go to the Atlantic Ocean and paddle out. I mean, you only got to survive 72 hours and you win, right? Like,
No, man, I'm not an ocean person.
no, I can't swim, so this is probably a bad idea for me, but like it's just 72 hours. I can just stay on a boat for 72 hours. I'll bring sunscreen.
Oh, because we've seen what happens when people go underneath the ocean with a Nintendo 64 controller. I don't need to be someone in the middle of the ocean trying to swim back to shore because I'm a big guy and I should be able to float, but some odd reason I'm just the one big rock that sinks.
That's fair. Like I forgot that even after the 72 hours, I got to paddle back to shore. So that makes sense. But Dawson, thank you for joining us on the Buffalo Sports Collective. Do you want to let everyone know where they can find you, the podcast, and maybe anything else you want to plug, your articles or whatever else you want to let everyone know where to find you?
Yeah, you can find me at Dawson J Nielsen. Nielsen's just spelled like Lucas Nielsen on X. I write for the Inside Lacrosse or Outlet Indoor. You can catch articles over there. You said it, I do the podcast for the Loose Mesh podcast with me and Frick, but Frick is usually busy nowadays with a bunch of OLA BS and all that kind of stuff that's going on right now. So just giving him some time, but we'll be back. You can catch us wherever you catch the Buffalo Sports Collective on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. YouTube's kind of been not really there, but you can find us anywhere. Every social media platform, there's usually one there kicking around.
I guess the only other question, I know you didn't prepare for this, but it's your show, so we expecting a trade deadline show again next year?
Yes, we will be doing a trade deadline show. Hopefully, I am trying to make it bigger and better next year. You know what? I think actually when you go back to your question, what will you remember? Some people, my brother and a couple of my family members who watch lacrosse as much as I do, they said, that was probably one of the better things that they felt like they had, and a couple of buddies even said it too. And I think fans enjoyed it. Like, if fans want it, that we want to have a trade deadline show, I'm for it. If we want to have a draft day show, I'm for it. If we want to have an all free agency show, I think that's the one that we're starting to plan and trying to get a bunch of people to jump on board. And, the thing it comes down to is our sources going to be able to give us information fast enough. And some of them say yes, and some of them say, we'll see. And if it's, we'll see for majority of them, that's maybe when we shut it down. But I think, it has been sent off to the league that, a lot of you guys, a lot of the fans in general of the National Lacrosse League who, again, you're privy to some of the information that you get, and I'm privy to some of the information I get. And I think if we work together, all the podcasts work together of Lax Class, what they had of the hot stove, I think if we work together, we can create something special. And man, let's just take the sport to another level. And I think having those trade deadline shows, free agency shows, draft day shows, those are things that are going to drive this league to the next level.
Yeah. Well, sign me up for the trade deadline show. Absolutely. I had it on the background at work, and then even when I got home, it was still on. But yeah, you can sign the BSC up for anything that you need, collaboration, whatever it is. We're on board with it as well.
Hey man, next year join us. Come and join us.
Oh, it was crazy at work. Otherwise, I was like I told you, it was like, oh man, like an hour later, I would be in. So maybe I'll take the day off of work next year. I'll pencil it in now.
For sure. I appreciate
thank you again for.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you joining us on the BSC. Hope to talk to you down the road and continued success. I'm sure we're going to be talking later.
Hey man, I appreciate you guys, PK, and your other co-host partner,
Phil. Yep.
Phil. Sorry, Phil, but I appreciate you guys, what you guys doing. I think you guys have one of the coolest things going for you, and I hope more spots around the National Lacrosse League start opening up and start covering local teams. Because as much as you guys probably don't see how much people enjoy your content, there's a lot of people that enjoy your content. I know I'm a weekly listener. It's usually your guys' pod or some other 4,000 other lacrosse pods in the world that I'm listening to at work just to get through the day.
Well, I appreciate the listen, but I'm the same way. It's my entire Apple is just lacrosse shows. But we will be back Friday with our normal episode, and we will talk to you all then.